Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely flip the script on everything you thought you knew about getting rich. We often think that building wealth is about having some secret insider knowledge or being an absolute genius at stock picking. But what if I told you that building wealth is actually far less about what you do with your money and much more about what goes on inside your own head? We're diving into deep academic research to break down the actual proven mechanics of building wealth and to uncover why the biggest obstacle standing between you and financial freedom is, well, probably your own psychology.
So, let's dive right in. Why is becoming rich so undeniably difficult for the vast majority of us? We tend to beat ourselves up, right? We think, oh, I just lack the right tactics or I need a better financial planner. Actually, scratch that. The reality is far more biological. Our brains are quite literally hardwired for short-term survival. We are built to find food and shelter today, not to grasp the massive, abstract, long-term concepts required to compound wealth over decades. When you ask your brain to sacrifice something tangible today for an invisible reward 40 years from now, it's going to fight back.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core of our problem, perfectly summed up by portfolio manager and financial researcher Ben Felix. He points out that the actual mechanics of investing, they've been solved. The optimal strategies are mathematically proven and readily available. The really hard part is actually doing it, because our mental biases, our emotional reactions to the market, and our general lack of discipline constantly get in the way and sabotage our success.
To make sense of all this, we're breaking things down into 5 key areas today. First, your brain versus your money. Second, setting true financial goals. Third, renting versus owning a home. Fourth, avoiding major financial traps. And finally, the ultimate investing strategy.
Let's start with Section 1, your brain versus your money. These are the psychological blocks where our intuition actively fails us. To really understand why saving is so hard, just think about brushing your teeth. If you skip brushing your teeth for a single day, what happens? Absolutely nothing. You feel totally fine. Skipping saving today feels exactly the same, completely harmless. But zoom out and imagine skipping brushing your teeth for 5 whole years. That's a total disaster. You'd be in a dental chair having them all pulled out. Finance works the exact same way. The daily cost of neglect is completely invisible, but the long-term, compounding consequences are absolutely devastating.
This concept completely reframes the way you'll look at your spending forever. We just talked about the cost of not saving, but let's look at the opportunity cost of spending. If you take $10,000 today and invest it at a conservative 7% return over 40 years, it grows into $150,000. That means when you make a $10,000 impulse buy today, maybe on a depreciating car, you are essentially robbing your future self of $150 grand. Every single dollar spent today has a massive invisible price tag attached to it.
Moving to Section 2, setting true financial goals. It's all about finding the real meaning behind your money.
So many people chase arbitrary financial milestones just because they think it's what you're supposed to do. But academic research suggests a much better 3-step process for figuring out what you actually want. Step 1, sit down and list your goals. Step 2, force yourself to double that list. Why? Because it forces your brain to move past superficial desires and dig into what truly matters to you. And finally, Step 3, filter those goals through a proven psychological framework to see if they will actually make you happy.
Now that framework is absolutely crucial. It's called the PERMA model, drawn from positive psychology. It stands for positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. If you think buying a fancy sports car is your ultimate goal, ask yourself, does it give you real engagement? Does it build deep relationships or provide true meaning? If the answer is no, it's probably a fleeting desire. This model ensures you aren't just hoarding cash for the sake of it, but actively funding a life that actually flourishes.
All right, Section 3, renting versus owning a home. It's time to completely dismantle the biggest financial myth in our culture.
We are always told that paying rent is an unrecoverable cost, just throwing money away. But home ownership actually comes with its own massive stack of hidden, completely unrecoverable costs that vanish exactly like rent. We're talking about the heavy mortgage interest you pay directly to the bank. It includes property taxes. It includes maintenance and emergency costs, which academic literature suggests are heavily underestimated and often exceed 2% of the home's value annually. And most importantly, it includes the huge opportunity cost of locking up your down payment in a house instead of having it actively compound on the stock market.
When you compare the two side by side mathematically, renting is far from a failure. Renters typically have much lower monthly cash flow costs, giving them the incredible advantage of taking that extra cash and investing it into the stock market, which, by the way, has historically outpaced real estate growth.
Plus, renters retain high mobility. They aren't tied down to one location if an amazing job opportunity pops up across the country, whereas homeowners are anchored down by an asset with huge transaction fees if they want to sell.
To figure out the math for your own specific situation, use the 5% rule. Take the total purchase price of the home you want to buy, multiply it by 5%, and then divide that number by 12. The resulting number is the exact monthly rent at which renting becomes a financially equivalent or even better decision than owning that specific home. It proves that, depending on your market, renting can actually be the much smarter wealth-building move.
Section 4. Avoiding major financial traps. Let's look at the silent wealth killers you need to dodge.
Hoarding cash feels incredibly safe, especially when the world is volatile. But holding $10,000 under the mattress or in a zero-interest checking account is actually incredibly risky. Assuming a modest historical inflation rate of 3%, holding that cash for 20 years essentially slices your purchasing power right in half, reducing your $10,000 to just over $5,000 in real spendable value. Cash isn't safe at all. It's practically a guaranteed negative return. Another major financial trap isn't even an investment. It's who you decide to marry. Academic research categorizes people into tightwads who feel physical, emotional pain when spending money, and spendthrifts who feel almost no pain when buying things. And ironically, the data shows these exact opposites frequently attract each other. While it might seem romantic at first, pairing a tightwad with a spendthrift heavily increases the risk of serious marital conflict and can completely derail your long-term savings goals.
Finally, Section 5, the ultimate investing strategy. We're going to see why, when it comes to wealth, boring is actually way better.
Before we cover what you should do, the data is abundantly clear on what you absolutely must avoid. Avoid the illusion that you can somehow pick winning individual stocks. Avoid jumping on hot thematic ETFs like AI or clean energy, because by the time the fund is created, the assets are usually already vastly overpriced. Avoid complex options products like covered calls that limit your upside, and definitely steer clear of highly volatile crypto speculation. The financial industry designs these exciting products to prey on your biases, not to build your wealth.
Instead, what does the science actually say? An incredibly thorough academic paper simulated 1 million potential financial lifetimes using data across 39 different countries. The result? The optimal strategy is brilliantly straightforward: a 100% equity portfolio utilizing low-cost index funds. Specifically, it suggests putting about 1/3 of your money in domestic stocks and the remaining 2/3 in international stocks. This global diversification is vital because it protects your retirement from localized inflation and domestic economic crashes.
Now, even if you set up that perfect portfolio, here is your biggest threat. Academic literature proves that constantly checking the daily ups and downs of your investment app causes immense stress. The market naturally fluctuates, but watching it every single day makes investing feel terrifyingly risky. This anxiety pushes people to make emotional decisions, take less risk, sell at the exact wrong time, and ultimately earn significantly lower returns.
So the ultimate provocative question to ask yourself as we wrap up this explainer isn't what secret stock you should be picking tomorrow. The real question is, do you have the psychological discipline to set up automated investments into a boring, low-cost, global index fund and then literally forget your password? Because true wealth isn't built by outsmarting the market. It's built by outsmarting yourself. Thanks for joining us, and keep on learning.